Today we're going to talk about 3 small things that make a huge difference. Welcome back to this week's episode. I am Chad Owen, the Annuity Sales Coach and host of this podcast. Of course, this guy, he's just there, well, I'm not going to say for looks, to make it look better.
I'm like the fence for this podcast.
Bar, maybe?
Yeah,
Low bar?
I'm like the parameters here. My job is to try and help wrangle Chad.
Nobody can wrangle me. Well, my wife can wrangle me, but nobody else can wrangle me. Okay.
Well, so 3 small things that make a huge difference. We've got them. And it's funny because the idea for this podcast actually spawned yesterday. Chad and I were hunting together, and we were talking about...
We were sitting in a blind. We weren't hunting.
Yeah, it's true. We were trying. But we're sitting there, and I had a thought thinking back to about a week ago on a Monday. Mm-hmm. You were making calls, mm-hmm. and a couple of agents making calls, and it's 7:30 at night. Mm-hmm. And I go, it's crazy to me that time of day works well. Mm-hmm. And you go, most agents are probably not calling at 7 or 7:30 at night. And it's true. But just the time that you decide to call leads mm-hmm. is a small thing, but makes a huge difference, right?
I mean, small. Boy, that's an interesting one because, I'd rather be at home hanging out with my family, so that's big.
It feels big.
Yeah, it feels big because I look at...
It's not complicated.
Definitely not complicated, but there's a sacrifice to that. But see, I'm used to, back in the day, this was 17 plus years ago, I used to work retail, and it was normal for our shop to be open till 9 o'clock,
right?
And you might want to time this just so, we're not dragging this on so these poor guys have to listen to us forever. Nobody wants to listen to you forever.
Oh, man. I love podcast days.
Yeah,
I get to talk and nobody tells me to be quiet.
No, there will be a time, I'll tell you. That's why we have the timer. So I can say, okay, we're done. I'm done. But, excuse me, it is... the hours were 9 to 9.
Right.
That was very normal. That was what it was. So making calls till 7:30 at night is not a real big deal from that standpoint.
Sure.
But I'll tell you, it does amaze me, even though I tell agents, this is the prime time to call, 4:30 to 7:30, how many don't?
Right.
It just amazes me. Now, I used to, before we came to Texas, I used to do on Friday nights from 4:30 to 7:30 and had great success.
Right.
Till we ran into this thing called Friday Night Lights. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea how big Friday Night Lights was till we came to Texas. So I actually had to adapt, and I tried Mondays, and Mondays actually worked just as well, which surprised me. But when I was in Colorado, it was definitely Friday nights. But now I'm going, well, I would imagine it'd be at that time on Monday as well. The reason why middays or midweeks, don't generally work out, and middays is because somebody's doing something.
Right.
Monday people get back to work, and they generally are going to come home. They're not going to go out afterwards. Fridays, a lot of times people do go out afterwards, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's usually some sort of sports activity with the kids or the grandkids. And so it's really important. And the number of agents that I get that say they don't make those calls really surprises me, actually. I mean, so it's a small thing, but it does make a big difference.
I'm kind of surprised that in Colorado on a Friday, 4:30 to 7:30 was a good time. I'm thinking about, that's getting into the weekend for most, 9 to 5 jobs, people going up to the mountains, things like that. It's kind of a crazy thing. You come to Texas and you've got football. Yep. But Monday, 4:30 to 7:30 for you has been just an absolute gold mine to call. Now, granted, we got to qualify this too because of how much.
There's definitely been times where I've called on Monday and called and only got one or no appointments. I mean, I have had goose eggs. It's not that common, though. I mean, and sometimes it's funny. I'll start at 4:30, and I'm getting around 7. I'm going, God, man, I just haven't, the calling time is rough. And all of a sudden I get 3 appointments in a row between 7 and 7:30.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how that works. But here's the reality it comes down to. Well, I don't want to call after that time. Well, then don't expect to do 10, 15, 20 million. Don't. I mean, that's a reality.
Yeah.
It's very rare. Now, I do know of agents that have offices that have someone call for them, but that's so rare. I mean, how many people do you know that write 27 million a year in personal annuity production? I saw this thing recently that this guy, or supposedly the number one person in this area, wrote 35 million so far for the year. I'm like, no, that is not one person. That is generally, and the reason why I know is because it's one company, one product. You know, it's either a product pushing. Generally, it's like a call center type situation.
Right.
You have all these sub agents that push all their business up, so they make all these calls, make all these appointments, get the client qualified, and then they push it up to the person who's literally writing deals. You'll see that at banks too.
Yeah.
You'll see banks where someone says, there's this guy that tries to recruit everybody. It's one of the slimiest things I've seen out there on LinkedIn. But the funny thing, I wrote $100 million in annuities. No, you did that because you did not have to run the appointments yourself. You were just in a bank location getting
inside.
all these fed in, and you're literally an order taker. Here, someone wants an annuity. Okay, fine, I'll fill out the paperwork. That didn't take the hustle that it normally takes to be out running appointments.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So for you, granted, you're not calling typically in a normal week on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
No.
So you're calling one day a week. It's Mondays, typically a time slot in the morning, and then 4:30 to 7:30 in the evening.
9
and
to 10 a.m. on Monday morning.
Right.
But those are only the brand new leads.
But it's worth saying that if you do have the ability to call within 24 to 48 hours of receiving the lead, the sooner you call the lead, it's always going to be better.
Always.
So,
and here's the other thing. If I don't have appointments set up, I mean, now, of course, I can't do that because I have other responsibilities. But I would call Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I mean, if I didn't have appointments, my job, it's like I tell people right now, if you don't have a job, what's your job?
Find a job.
Finding a job. See, you know this. And so it's like, if you don't have appointments, what's your job?
Get appointments.
Getting appointments.
Yeah.
And so there's that balancing statement there. Right now, I can't. You know, I have that time set aside. And I do not run appointments. That's another thing I'll find is an agent accepting to run an appointment at 6 o'clock at night on a Monday, and then you just blew your day.
Right.
You know, because you're either driving there or I just don't. I don't run appointments on Mondays.
You set specific time slots Tuesday through Thursday, and then Friday gets to be your follow-up, your pending business day, work, training, all kinds of stuff on that day. Well, good deal. Well, the second thing that I put down that, granted, is small, but has a huge impact, and we talk about it a lot, but it's fact-finding.
Yes.
And it's huge. And I say it's small.
How difficult is it to go through a fact finder from beginning to end? It's not.
It's not.
It's so easy to do.
In fact, for you, it's one of the parts of the process where you actually don't make a ton of eye contact, right?
No, I do, depend on the question.
Okay.
I mean,
I was thinking you kind of sat there and you asked the question and filled it in.
Like I'll emphasize.
Okay.
So, are you willing to lose all of your money, some of your money, or none of your money?
And then you just wait and let them respond.
It just depends on what the question is.
Sure.
And when you go into our academy, you'll see that given in detail.
Right.
I mean, we cover a lot of surface stuff here with a lot of really good nuggets, but when you dig deep into our academy, that's where I go into the why I do it this way, what
the actual document
the
itself.
actual document, yes.
But that's a 5-minute process, 10-minute process. Maybe if you're having to have conversation to really talk about it. But when you think about you're spending 2 to 3 hours with a client, that ends up being 3 to 5% of the total time. So it's a small thing, but it has a huge impact. Case size is a huge factor. And that's one thing that if you're trying to increase your average case size, and we find industry standard norm or whatever is about 150, yours is over 340,000 per case. So much of that comes from you're seeing exactly what they have, where they have it, and finding the problem, and you know what you have to work with, which almost always increases the average case size. That's so good.
And I'll add another one.
No,
so we've
it.
went over 2, right? So I'm going to add a 2 plus, and then we'll have a bonus one at the end.
Okay.
Spending $100 a month for the academy or $200 a month for the Pro Plus.
There you go.
That's a small thing, but
It
what
is
does
small.
it do for you? You know, people will spend money on their coffee, they'll spend money on clothes, they'll spend money on shoes, they'll spend money on whatever, restaurants, and they'll go, well, you know what, it's not worth my time, energy, and effort.
Right.
And you know what? Once again, I know for a fact, very rare do I ever run into someone that cannot afford $100 to $200 a month.
Yep.
It's incredibly rare. Yep. Well, I'd rather spend that money on leads. Wouldn't you rather spend less money on leads and make the most out of your leads versus spending money on a whole bunch of leads? I know someone that 43 internet leads that I use, 43, and didn't close one.
Yep.
and it's like, and I'm not mocking that person at all. You know, it's, you have to learn. I mean, if you just take 40 internet leads at $300 a piece, you spent 12 grand.
Right.
And so I'm going, well, it would be worth, now this person's still on our platform, which is great, but the way I look at this is, you know, when you dig deeper and you dive more, you know, education generally is going to cost you more when it's the right type of education with an industry expert.
I know 2 agents offhand that were relatively new to the industry. They got plugged into the platform, and within 1 year's time, they 100x'd what they put into the platform.
That's very, yeah. I mean, I think of some,
100 times.
I could think of multiple people right now that's the case. I mean, I have a guy who's in my inner circle, that's $1,500 a month, but I'll tell you what, God, he went from writing 4.7 million, he just passed 10 million for the year, and he's probably going to pass 12 to 13 million.
Yeah, and on top of that, he's doing a ton of life insurance too.
Yes. Well, that's another guy. That's another guy. That's not the same one.
Well,
yeah,
there
there's
you go.
another guy. So that's 2. Yeah, no, that's another guy.
It's true.
So it's constant of, what do we say, $1,500 a month, $18,000 a year, that's what, a $300,000 annuity approximately, and you've covered your entire year's inner circle training.
There you go.
And
if somebody that's writing over 26, 27 million a year can help you write an extra 300,000, there's much larger issues at play.
Yep. I'm learning 3 new industries right now that I've never tapped into before.
Yep.
I've never done this before. So I am studying and studying. I'm finding the experts of experts in these industries to help me understand how these things work.
Yeah.
And so it is well worth an investment. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not a big fan of college unless it's required for your degree.
Sure.
But because there's so much information I can get. The problem is when I started researching how to sell an annuity, how to represent an annuity, some of the biggest dodos in the world are on there talking about, I'm like, that's not how that works.
Right.
Or they're only talking about one product because, you know, that's all they push.
Yeah.
And then even the way they explain caps, participation rates, and fees or spreads, I'm going, you're not even, if you explain this to your client this way, and your client turns you in, all the insurance commissioners do is watch these videos on YouTube and you're fried.
Yeah.
And so I know beyond any shot of doubt, I could have any insurance commissioner in any state look at my videos and I know you're not going to get me on anything because my number one thing is finding out what is best for the client. Find the problem, find the solution, not trying to product push or funnel into one particular company.
Yeah.
Whoever's the best at the time, that's who I'm using.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, let's go on to number 3.
Well,
and
3.5.
Yeah, right. And it is the Leave Behind kit. Again, another thing that we talk about pretty frequently, but I throw it in there because it doesn't take that much time to put together. No. It really, relative to your leads, doesn't cost you that much to assemble.
An extra 30,
so
$40,
right.
And you've got that.
So it is a small thing, but it has a huge impact because it does the selling for you while you're gone. I mean, can you think back even to a time when you weren't using Leave Behind?
I always had something. I mean, it was a dog in the beginning. So
sure.
Why did they say it's a dog? I love dogs. We should say it's a cat.
Yeah.
That would be better. It's a cat. So why do we say it's a dog? But, you know, I've always had something that's done that since I've been doing annuities. But, you know, I hear people right now saying, yeah, but all those little costs add up to the overall cost of business. You know, no, all those costs add up to not getting business.
Right. Yeah, and the cost of missed deals costs you a whole lot more.
Way more.
Than Leave Behind kit or leads or training or
I don't know
anything
of any
like that.
successful company that doesn't have some sort of or some form of marketing.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody. And so, and you could say, well, some of these big institutions, no, they started somewhere. I mean, Coca-Cola started advertising like crazy. And now you see them, all you have to do, I mean, it's like Pepsi. Pepsi, all you have to do is see not even the words. You just see the colors and you're like, that's Pepsi. Or, you know, Chick-fil-A, you could see the chicken and not see the words, and you know that's Chick-fil-A. I mean, that's the will of God, but that's a whole nother. You know, when you get to the point of just recognizing logos, you know they spent a ton on marketing.
Yep.
And why agents, and I'm not being aggressive in this area, it's a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Why agents think they don't have to spend money on leads and education, and they think they can be the ones writing 5, 10, 15 million. I mean, yes, I did that, but I've always spent money on leads.
Yeah.
And I've done a ton of education on my own, which I would gladly take away that on my own and have a mentor back 15 years ago. Yeah. And I assure you I'd be farther along now. Mm-hmm. I mean, someone who just really dove in, and I had a really good mentor. Yeah. But it wasn't someone that had a platform. It was just someone I'd call every once in a while and say, hey, you know what?
It wasn't necessarily a duplicatable process.
Yeah, no.
That's what it's a plug-and-play duplicatable process.
Absolutely, and you just put your own personality to it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep. I love it. Well, I want to hit one last thing.
Okay.
This Friday, we are hosting a live webinar where we're actually going to talk about, explain to you the number one product that you've had over the last 2 years. Most agents don't have
August of 2019.
Yeah.
Yep.
So August of 2019 all the way through 2020, and then so far this year over 2021, it has been an absolute beast. It's a limited distribution product. Most agents don't have it.
It's a true limited distribution. It's not the marketer
product.
calling you going, hey, I'm sure you haven't heard this. We're the only ones that have this. No, I've had that one for a long time. Yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
No, it truly is, and we're going to go over how it works and why it's actually been able to capture 80% of your business this year. And again, bear in mind, the way that Chad's approaching this is what is best for the client.
Absolutely.
Okay,
well,
it's
with the disclaimer that that doesn't mean next week it will still be the best. Because,
exactly.
I mean, something changes, I drop it. If it's not the top, I drop it.
And that's what I'm saying. So for a single product to capture about 80% of your business over the course of 2 years it's really something special. So that'll be this coming Friday at 1 p.m. Central. We've got it blocked out from 1 to 2, and you can click the link in the description below to go register for that webinar. So
perfect. Well, I hope this all helps you guys, and of course, happy selling.